everybody, and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Today we're going to be talking about the 4-year cycles for Bitcoin, why in the final year of this cycle it's going to be the biggest and most profitable one for early investors, and what it means for the rest of this cycle when we're comparing many of the top altcoins today. When I look at all of the cycles that I've been a part of over the last 8 years, and now when I'm looking at many of the charts that I'm seeing today, I see the exact same setups playing out once more, and I've got nothing but confidence that the year of 2025 is going to be truly life-changing for anybody that's an investor in the crypto markets. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you find any value in this video, please do me a favor, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. And without further ado, let's jump right into this amazing video today. So the whole premise of this video is covering 2025, why 2025 is going to be such a profound year for this cycle, and how this is really the moment of time that if you've been investing into any cryptos outside of Bitcoin, this is really the moment of time where we're going to finally realize some profit in our long-term holds. Depending on when you guys got invested, you may already be up in profit, but for the most part, altcoins really don't do anything until the final tail end of that cycle. It's in the final year the altcoins finally start to run, and that's really where we're at right now. The reason I wanted to cover the charts today is because I got nothing but confidence that everything that I'm seeing in the markets are telling the same stories from the last cycles that I had the opportunity of making life-changing amounts of profit in. And going into this cycle, I feel like I'm more prepared ever before. I've really known exactly what to get positioned in, how to get positioned, and most importantly, the hardest part of getting positioned early is having the foresight to stick to your holds and continue to hold them throughout the period where the markets go crazy. Because I'm promising you guys right now that if you've been investing for the last 2, 3, 4 years plus, you finally got your portfolio set, ready to go. You've been through all of the dips. You've been through all of the choppy sideways action. This is the moment where things are going to get marked up to a very significant, percentage. And when that happens, it's going to be the hard thing actually either taking profits or continuing to hold. You guys are going to struggle with two different problems. You're either going to get so excited that you want to hold forever and then you'll never take any profits at all, or you'll see the market start to run and then you'll assume to yourself, well, this has got to be the top. It never goes this high. I'm out. Only to see that thing really run higher. So the point of this video is to really cover all of these details. This is going to be a good video for people that have been here for a long time, and this is also a good video for new guys that are just getting invested now or maybe over the last couple years. The premise that I wanted to cover is the 4-year cycles, because we need to know what happens in the 4-year cycles to truly understand where we're at in this current bull run as well. Now, remember guys, I've always talked extensively about how inside of our bull markets, they're always 3 years in duration. And then we have a 1-year bear market, and the total of that is 4 years. But the way you truly analyze a 4-year cycle is going from peak low of the bear market all the way to the next peak low. And the distance in between this bear market crash and this bear market crash is exactly 4 years. And that's how the Bitcoin cycles have synced up to this point. This is 1,428 days, and 1,450 days is actually 4 years. So this is only a month off from being exactly 4 years. Now, when we look at this, we can come all the way back to 2018 at the bottom of this bear market, and if you draw another point from the exact low of that cycle crash all the way to the next one that we saw back here at the very ending of 2022, it was the exact same amount of time, 1,428 days. So every Bitcoin cycle is a 4-year cycle from peak low to peak low, right? Now we can get into even more details and talk about how if you analyze from that exact peak low all the way to the top of the cycle, it's going to be exactly 3 years. So what we see is 3 years up, and then in the bear market, which is where the market corrects, it's 1 year down. 3 years up, 1,064 days, 1 year down, 364 days. The longest bear market we had was back here in 2013 after the Mt. Gox hack, because 80% of all Bitcoin were traded at Mt. Gox at the time of that hack. So when Bitcoin was rallying, they found out that all of those Bitcoin reserves for Mt. Gox were just getting hacked the whole time and stolen. They realized they don't have enough to cover liquidity on exchange, and that was where we saw this massive crash take place. Bitcoin corrected like 85%. And then it consolidated here for another 280 days, and then it took a really slow uptrend before it got to the point of making a new all-time high. So that was the longest one at about 406 days. Looking in the bear market in 2018, this one was exactly 364 days, and taking a look at the one that we just went through in our last bull market, from the FTX collapse, Terra Luna, Three Arrows Capital, all those lenders and stuff, Celsius, that was exactly the same amount of time, 364 days. So all of these cycles are exactly the same. up to this point. I'm not saying they're always going to be. It's just that up to this point, we have followed these 4-year cycles where it's 3 years up, 1 year down. 3 years up, 1,064 days, 1 year down, 364 days. And the distance in between each cycle low is 4 years. So that's how we understand how these 4-year cycles have synced up. Now, we always understand that there's a potential where things can change. And we talked extensively of what happens if we end up peaking early in this cycle. And the reason why I no longer talk about that is because if we're looking at where we're at today and really how long it's taken from all of our prior cycles to go into a new all-time high, we started to really break out at about 1,092 days from the point of us peaking at the top of the last cycle to the point of us finally going into price discovery. And when we're looking at our last bull market, the COVID capitulation and all of that stuff that took place, it was the exact same amount of time. From the all-time high of $20,000, it took 1,092 days before we finally went into a brand new all-time high and true price discovery. Looking over here, this would have been the longest cycle once again, but I think that the entirety of that is just because Mt. Gox, it took a lot longer to rebuild, get the same volumes, get the liquidity, new exchanges had to come on board like Coinbase, Crypto.com, all of those. But we're looking at this, and from the first attempt at a new all-time high, it was about 1,200 days. But from the point of us actually getting outside, it was about 1,250 days. So looking at all of these cycles, 2017 was the longest. Looking at where we're at today, both this cycle and the last cycle are showing to be the exact same amount of time. Not only did they have exactly 1 year in the bear market, but they had exactly 1,092 days from the all-time high to the point of us making a new one. So there's a lot of similarities between this cycle and the last. Even though the price action is obviously different, the time frames are exactly the same, which is the most important thing I've always told you guys to follow. Because we're already from the low of the cycle to where we're at today, 791 days in. Where we would be projecting a top is going to be 1,064 days, which is basically October, November, December at the end of the year. That's the same thing that's happened with all of these cycles. If we're looking at our last bull market where it topped, that was November 1st. If we're looking at 2017, where the cycle topped, that was December 11th. When we're looking at where the cycle topped in 2013, that was November 25th. So all of these cycles are peaking at the winter, right? And because I don't expect that this cycle is going to be a much quicker one or anything like that, and I definitely don't think it's going to be a longer cycle at that, I do believe it's going to peak sometime in the fall to the winter, October, November, December. Could be in January, but I think it's most likely that altcoins would peak in January because, we have seen things like that in the past, where in 2017, Bitcoin made this lower high, and at the peak of that lower high, altcoins finish their blow-off tops like that. So we have seen things, sync up in different ways. We don't truly know how it's going to play out, but the most important thing to understand is if we know how these time frames have worked, and we understand that where we're at today is no different than all of the prior cycles that have been exactly 3 years up, 1 year down, I do anticipate this cycle being a normal 4-year trend where we're going to see 1,064 days leading into the cycle top. Could be a little more, could be a little less, right? But I think it's going to be somewhere between October, November, and December. Somewhere in those months, we're going to see that final cycle top of Bitcoin. And I don't find it likely it's going to be this type of double top thing where it's this, consolidation mainly rather than seeing this type of a blow-off top. I do find it likely that with the retail, with the institutions, with all of the global demand for Bitcoin this time, we are going to finally see Bitcoin have a normal 4-year blow-off top that's going to be like 2017. It's not going to have this shortened ending of the cycle. I think that it will follow that normal trend where, we can make this big run at 200K, maybe we see a big correction after that. But realistically, Bitcoin could be peaking over here, and we follow this type of a trend, peaking somewhere at the latter end of this year of 2025, and then having that same 1-year bear market, right? 1-year bear market. That's been the case up to this point. Could it be more like that 2013 cycle where because the institutions take profits, because the retail gets dunked on, we see it correct a little bit more and it's maybe a little bit longer, like 406 days versus 364, 364? I don't know for certain. But it's something we have to at least take a look at, pay attention to, considering this is more or less what I'm anticipating for Bitcoin. Somewhere peaking from 200 to 300K. I think that's a very realistic target, and I think it could go higher than that depending on the volatility we experience, but realistically 200 to 300K to me is a fair target. And more than anything, I'm trading this based off the time frames. We're looking at October, November, December taking profits. That's the most important thing to be aware of. You want to take your profits. You don't want to hold through this next bear market because I got a lot of confidence this next bear market could be one of the biggest, if not the biggest of all time, considering this is the institutions involved, this is retail getting involved. We're seeing all this silly money consolidating inside of, meme coins. To me, it's really just proving that we are at a point of taking heavy profit, and not just us, the retail investors, but the smart money people, the people that have been in Bitcoin for years and years. I think they're going to finally take some profits at the end of this bull market. So with that being said, we're jumping over here and taking a look at some of the top performing altcoins, because I want to tell you guys about why 2025 specifically, the final year of this bull market, is going to be so prime for upside. We can look at a number of different charts going over every one of our prior cycles, and it can give us an idea as far as what to expect going into this one. Coming over here and looking at XRP, XRP was a prime example. It was the best performing altcoin in 2017, and throughout that entire calendar year, it outperformed Ethereum, it outperformed all of the other stuff that was really pumping hard. XRP outperformed by a significant margin. But when we're looking at XRP, XRP started pumping here March of 2017. Remember, we only had 2017 where altcoins were really running. So the total amount of time that XRP took actually running into a parabolic cycle was about 306 days. So it was less than a year, right? 2 months less than a year that it took XRP to run, however many thousands of X it was. It was an insane amount. XRP going from fractions of a penny all the way up here to $3.30. It was truly an insane thing to experience and witness. Many people weren't around for that 2017 cycle to see that. Now keep in mind, XRP was going from a very small amount of market cap, but that's the type of stuff that we see in these markets. Many of these new cryptos that are just around from today that we're looking at the charts, we're seeing them look pretty much like this, where they haven't done anything, they look pretty much dead. Only the ones that see adoption this cycle are going to follow these same moves, where we only have a year left in this bull market, right? And in that final calendar year is where all of the altcoins end up running. So when we're looking at, even in the last bull market, coming over here and looking at Solana, when we're looking at the final end of that bull market, you're pretty much looking at the beginning of 2021, right at the bottom of this move. So we're going to measure it from there. And if you're looking at the final year of that cycle, this was 308 days. The majority of that cycle took place in just under a year, right? The only thing prior to that was this higher high. Solana had made a higher high, made that first little impulse, but throughout the calendar year of 2021, the final end of that bull run, we saw Solana make this big of a move. So this is the same type of thing we're going to experience in this bull market as well. Even Ethereum followed more like Solana, right? Where it had more time to accumulate. But when we're looking at where it was at in 2017, right here, here's December, here's January. Same exact point in the price structure. So Ethereum ran over the course of one final year. It went from like $6 all the way up to $1,450. 371 days it took, just over a year. So this is why I want you guys to be so aware of this specific calendar year of 2025, why it's so important for this bull market, because where we're at right now, in my opinion, we're looking at a lot of the same similarities that we've seen in these prior cycles. Looking over here, the two cryptos that I've seen outperforming in a big way to start this cycle are Sway. We called this one really early on in the beginning of this bull market, talking about why I believed it could be the next Solana. And so far, it has proven to follow that same type of a move. Solana, when it began its cycle, it made this same exact first little impulse. And this is the whole point on why I told you guys to buy Sway, months and months ago at this point. Looking at both of these cycles, they were pretty much the same setup. And where this thing bottomed, it started bottoming even a little bit earlier than Solana. Solana bottomed here at the very ending of 2020. And it was the beginning of 2021, the final year of that bull market, that Solana finally started to run. Sway has already started to run. It bottomed in August, September, and, made new all-time highs at the beginning of this year, or at the ending, I should say, October, November, December. We're finally into the new year of 2025, and this thing's already sitting well above and beyond new all-time highs. So that's another premise for why I anticipate this cycle just has more money coming into it than ever before. People are more willing to buy things at a higher price. With the institutions involved, with big companies on the stock market adding, Bitcoin to their reserves and buying it. There's just everything in this cycle to pinpoint that there's just going to be way more upside. We've already seen it with meme coins, but looking at the legitimate projects, this is what we have to experience through the rest of the cycle. I would argue that where Sway is right now is basically just right around here in these points. We've just began this first little impulse here out of this new all-time high. And if we're looking at where Solana ended up, that was the very beginning stages of this massive move. Where I think we are is truly here, because we're probably going to see a big run into new all-time highs here. We'll see that midway correction that we always do. All of the top altcoins are going to go through it. and then that'll lead us to the final blow off top. I still anticipate that we're going to follow a normal trend. Looking at all of our prior cycles, there's nothing in this cycle that's any different. Even looking at our 4-year cycles, once again, all of the time frames are still the same. So I'm not going to be changing anything in my plan. Still looking to scale out. I do plan on selling a little bit earlier, taking profits before the midway correction, rotating them back into the market, and then ultimately riding out that final new all-time high as well. My goal is to compound a lot, as much as I can, because this cycle does have everything to be, leading us into a massive bear market. So if you guys do want to see anything that I'm trading over the course of these cycles, you can always join my group, see everything we're buying, selling, trading, any altcoins, meme coins, AI picks. We've made a lot of money off some AI cryptos lately, all posted inside of the Discord for you guys to follow. So if you guys do want to be able to get access to that, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I wanted to make this video for new guys getting into the market that aren't around, haven't experienced as much, and even as a touch-up, a refresher, I should say, for older people that have been in the market that just really need to see where we're at today. All of these are super easy to follow along with. Ultimately this year is going to be very powerful, and I'd love to have you guys in the group, but regardless, I just appreciate the support that you guys give me as well. With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.